Okay, so welcome to DevTrack 2011, guys. And my name is Jón Bjarnason. I'm Eve's technical director, and I have a bunch of people here with me who are going to help me out and give presentations and talks during this DevTrack over the next couple of days. And what is a DevTrack all about? Why are we doing this? I'm not really an eloquent English-speaking guy, so I'll just let this guy handle it for me.
Developers.
That's what it's all about, guys. One more thing here. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, it brings me to my next subject, the Balmer peak. So I hope you guys are taking notes because we're going to be testing you guys on this later. Anyway, Eve's third-party development community. And you guys should go on YouTube and watch the rest of the video because it's truly inspirational. We have a lot of tools available from CCP to develop third-party applications. We have the API, we have the static data export, we have our image server, and we have a bunch of stuff. And we have a very lively third-party community who are very active on IRC and on the forums and are doing a lot of cool stuff. And there's a great number of applications out there and websites. And the guys in the talks on this DevTrack will probably outline some of those, some of the more successful ones, but it is a lot. And I would go as far as to say that third-party development is instrumental to the success of Eve, especially the end game. But at the same time, it is pretty difficult to break into Eve development because we don't have a lot of documentation, and it's actually pretty hard to start to work in our environment and understand how stuff works. And people aren't really incentivized to continue developing after they stop playing Eve. Eventually, some of you guys will grow up, move out to your mom's basements and get girlfriends and jobs. And then you might want to stop developing for Eve because there's really no reason to once you stop playing the game. And we haven't really been proactive enough as a company to support you in doing development. We have been busying ourselves with other stuff and not fully realized the potential that exists in the third-party development community. And we have had a lot of issues with the Eve API. We have had latency spikes that the guys will talk about, insufficient documentation, some very clumsy rate-limiting solutions and stuff like that have made the development pretty hard. So while we want third-party development to be something like this, if the piano over there is the API, for example, then today it's probably more like this. The piano is still there, but it's in a bad shape. So we want to fix it. And DevTrack is us reaching out to you guys. And we really, really want to help you make your applications. Can I just see a show of hands? How many people are making applications or websites for Eve? Okay, around half. The rest are working for CCP. So I mean, I'm hoping this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship between CCP and third-party developers, because we really want to help and we want to make you guys successful at what you do. We're going to have plenty of time to ask questions after each session, aiming for probably something like 45 minutes for the actual lectures, and then we're going to do a bunch of Q&A, because it's very important to us to find out what are the questions that you guys have. What would you guys like to know, and how would you guys want to develop the DevTrack forwards? And we are going to follow up after Fanfest with dev blogs, with tutorials. We're going to give you guys a bunch of sample code to play around with, and we're going to see if we can try to kickstart this thing into gear. And who knows, maybe next year this will blossom into an Eve developer conference. Who knows? So our hosts for today and tomorrow's sessions are myself. I'm the technical director on Eve. Been with the company for 6 years. And Unnar, if you stand up and wave, is our database extraordinaire expert programmer. It's his official title. And Markus Petersson, senior software engineer. Charlie Eriksson, the guy that boosts the quality into quality assurance. Andy Nordgren from Core. She's actually not in Eve, but don't throw tomatoes at her. She's really a nice person. And Guðmundur Halldórsson, if you stand up. He's our senior web developer who is working on our backend. We have a backend to the Eve server that's HTML. So the sessions are today. We're going to start off with the in-game browser after I'm done. And Markus is going to go through quickly the existing functionality, which you guys or the people that are interested in the in-game browser are probably familiar with. And he's going to detail the functionality that we are adding for the next release, which is hopefully in a couple of weeks. New request headers, a lot of new JavaScript methods and interesting stuff. And then at 11, then Charlie will take the stage and talk about the Eve API. He will give some examples on usage and talk about best practices, because there are a bunch of different ways to use the Eve API, and most of them are wrong. So he will have to tell you guys the do's and don'ts on how to keep your application healthy and how to keep the Eve API healthy as well. And then at 3 o'clock, Andy is going to do a Dream Apps roundtable, which is going to be an extremely interesting session. We will have a sign-up sheet in the community center, which you guys might want to sign up on, and there will be limited seating. And we're basically going to brainstorm what the API could be in the future. It's not about getting feature requests in or fixing that damn wallet journal. It's about what could the API be if it was a completely different architecture. And that's going to be a very exciting session. And then tonight, Unnar and Charlie, I believe, are going to jump on a grenade and introduce you guys formally to the Balmer Peak. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm expecting to see some pictures on Facebook. Tomorrow we're going to start at 10 with Unnar, if he's either awoken or not yet gone to sleep. And he's going to discuss the static data export. And even though this sounds like a really, really dry topic, I think it should be called something like the static awesome export, because this is a very, very important thing for you guys. If you guys are developing against the API or developing websites for the IGB and you're not using a static data export, you are doing it wrong. You're absolutely doing it wrong. And he will go in depth in how to use it and how to abuse it. And then at 11, I'm going to pull the stuff together that the guys have talked about in the previous lectures. And I'm going to pimp the shit out of the asset list in-game and show you how you can create a very rich IGB-aware website and make some of the functionality in-game that you guys have been griping about for years. Just make it yourselves. And then at 1 o'clock, we're going to have our roundtable, which is going to be pretty similar to what you guys might be used to from previous years. How many people have attended a dev roundtable on Fanfest before? Okay. So the roundtable will be moderated by Andy, and this is your opportunity to discuss the topics that we've talked about in the dev track, to even request some feature requests of the API or other tools that we are making available to you guys, and also just discuss the format of the dev track, if there's something you guys would want to see continue next year, and if there is something in particular you guys would want us to tackle. And there is going to be limited seating for this as well, so you guys should sign up. I think the sign-up sheet for this is in front of the roundtable, so you guys might want to wander over there and sign up. So, probably some of you guys are here to learn about monetization. So who here wants to make money off their apps? One guy. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Show me the money. So today you are not able to gain any money from your Eve applications. We don't allow it. We just say no. Just say no to money. This is a motto we live by. We are changing this. You will be able to make money, and you will be able to get ads on your websites and do all the fun stuff that you would like to do. So here is some like grueling biz dev text, and I'll just go through it quickly. The first part there, we will license third-party developers to create commercial applications and services using the Eve API, in-game browser, static data export, image export, and the Eve image server. Basically, all the stuff that you have at your disposal from CCP, you can use it to make money off. To become a licensee, you will enter into a commercial license agreement with CCP. The fee is $99 payable annually by credit card or wire transfer. And we do this for identification purposes, so you guys cannot pay with Plex. And we do not require any further payments from developer or any royalties. Developer can choose how they monetize their app or service, provided that they conform with the Eve EULA and terms of service. Examples could be donations, one-time purchase, in-app purchase, subscriptions, or ad-supported sites or apps. And the last bit there is just, don't be stupid and advertise ISK or bots, naturally. We may, at our discretion, list developers' applications or service and provide other publicity, but you may not market your application or service as being associated with CCP in any way. Yada, 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 yada. Legal jargon. So we will also allow non-commercial apps and services to enter into a similar agreement where you don't pay money, but you register on our website. So this is a very simple process. You will go to a website, you will sign up, enter your credit card, $100 a year. We have very few restrictions on this. All the stuff is pretty much just don't do stupid stuff. And it's open-ended. You can charge whatever you want to pretty much, but you cannot charge Plex, because our lawyers get like green pimples when we mention Plex. So you'll have to just charge ISK and buy your own Plex. And this initiative is not about us making money. We're not going to make any money out of you guys paying us $100 a year. So this is about you guys being able to make money. When is this going to happen? No, it's going to happen soon. We're going to do this in the next weeks. We are drafting the legal documents as we speak, and we will hopefully be able to launch this before the summer. And we will have a dev blog and some like pages and pages of legal jargon for you guys to look at and bask in over the next weeks. And so hopefully before the next major expansion, you guys will be able to put Google Ads on your sites. And if you have questions about the monetization, then Thor Gunnarsson, our VP of Business Development, will be at the roundtable tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And he will be able to answer any questions, because I cannot answer any of these questions. I understand like half of the words. All right, so that's it from me. I'm going to hand the mic over to Markus, who's going to talk about the in-game browser and show some exciting stuff. Thank you.
So, hi guys, do you hear me? In the back, the guy with the money, do you hear me? I hear you. Perfect. So let's see if I can find that. Let's go back to the beginning here. So as Nonni mentioned, my name is Markus Peterson, CCP Orion. I'm a senior software engineer. I've been involved in making some additions to the in-game browser lately and digging into that. The enhancements that we have come up with, I will go through them and basically just run through the examples. Made a very simple HTML page where we have buttons to call those functions. My point here today is to show you how easy things are. Then Unnar will take over to show you the truth about things, and tomorrow morning Charlie will confuse you even further, and then Nonni will wrap you up, and you will see the light again. So expect a bit of a tunnel experience. The in-game browser is not only to show Evilopedia pages in the game, but it's also a tool for you guys to implement context-based pages as you Who of you guys have played around with that stuff? Okay, so yeah. So basically what happens is that, yeah, okay, I'm actually going through the slides backwards. Perfect. Okay, I'll start out by explaining, that we are coming up with some updates to the HTML browser, but it's not really totally decided when. But we will be updating it to the newest version of Chromium, which is the underlying web engine. And then we'll have support for HTML5, some CSS updates. And what I will be showing today are the new IGB header data and the JavaScript functions. The architecture, it's an obligatory thing to have a pretty graph at CCP. I learned that pretty soon. And it's a bit special how this stuff is implemented. It's actually all client side. So basically what the client is doing, it is injecting data into the HTTP headers. And that stuff is not coming from the server, but from the client. It's pretty important to remember that, because that's one of the key things to understand the limitations, but also the possibilities. So what happens is that when a page is loaded, the Eve client injects the IGB header fields into the header area, and you can then grab that data to provide a context for the remaining, for your functionality. For the header files, we have added Solar System ID. We have added the war faction ID, shape name, shape type ID, and shape type name. These are, if you go through the Evilopedia page for the IGB, these are the most requested headers. There are some missing, but they would actually, it's better to retrieve that data through the API and through the static data, because they would require a round trip to the server, which we try to avoid at all possible lengths. Things become more interesting looking at the JavaScript functions, because the yellow stuff, that are new functions. So we have actually more new functions than existing functions. And I believe also that you will see that they now provide a substantial base to build stuff on. So you can actually start to make really good things. But this is by no means the end of it all. Basically, this is just us taking what has been requested, low-hanging fruit, throwing them in, and now the dialogue starts with you guys in those two roundtables, both from the API side, but also from the JavaScript side. So, and I will also leave you guys a link how to contact me and to come with ideas or questions later on. Okay, let's just start out by going through the main news here. Create contract. So basically we can now create contracts, or we can launch all these functions. They actually talk directly to the client. These are not server-side functions. These are not web services by any means or anything like that. We are not providing you with tools to write your own bots. That would be cool, but it's definitely not allowed. So we are going, through. We're making measures to prevent you both from spamming the server. So we have certain timeouts and maximum frequency functions, etc. But okay, create contract launches basically the create contract dialog with the. I'll go into the parameter stuff later on. Sell items, you can sell items, launch that window. By type, find in contracts, add to market quick bar, show contents, add contact, add corp contact, remove corp contact. So right here you can imagine that we can make pages where you have like a front page for alliances or for corporations, etc., where you would then have the context available and make it a single click thing to do stuff. Basically, that's the main thing here. Of course, when you've added all those contacts, you need to block them. And here we can see the infinite wisdom of Microsoft is that, hey, here's a word I know. Let's make it a big B. You know, I pasted this stuff from the editor, and I just noticed this. And I think, yeah, okay, bookmark is also. Yeah. So add bounty, invite to fleet, start conversation, show contracts, show on map, edit member, award decoration, send mail, bookmark, show sovereignty, and clear autopilot. So I guess, let's see, we have the add waypoint. Yeah, here. So now let's jump over to the client. And let's see what we have here. Yep. Do you know this ship? Charlie was just showing it to us. The cockroach. It actually looks really, and it's quite a beautiful thing. I was just going to show off my Polaris frigate, but the cockroach seems much more appropriate. Let's see. Do we still have it? Okay, cool. Exactly. Well, the Centurion is totally useless. It has several benefits, like it regenerates really quick, and you can't really target it, which makes it's a certain benefit. But then again, you can't shoot either, so it's a pretty mundane ship. Okay, so here is the thing: the in-game browser, and let's just start out by showing you the header fields. They are pretty interesting. When you start the in-game browser and take a look at the HTTP headers, you will see that there are actually nothing here. There are no Eve headers except for one curious little thing, which is Eve trusted, and it says no. That is because we don't inject anything into the page unless the user has actually authorized that site to inject stuff. There is no real confidential information, but we just want to spam the world with Eve headers. Although that would be cool. So in order to enable that, we need to add this page to the trusted sites. Let's just try that here. Okay. And then if you refresh, we should get something more. Okay, and here now we basically have all the fields that I mentioned earlier, and you can then use those fields to create the links and the buttons, etc., to pre-populate all the stuff that you need to get the ball rolling. If there's something missing here, just give us a shout, and we'll see what we can do about it. Okay, so this seems to be working fine. Now the next step is to take a look at. I prepared an HTML. There's one caveat that you need to know about because I did not know about it, and that is you can't trust file : sites, right? If you just write a page and put it on your disk, you can't really trust it. So none of this stuff will ever work. Yeah, sure. Because they are processed in the game browser. If you had been paying attention, you would have known that. No, just kidding. I know you're all hungover, so I'm not making any demands. And there will not be a test. That was a lie.
That actually refers to the JavaScript functionality that you cannot enable in HTML parser.
Yeah, yeah, and apparently, there is no real good method to, or at least no easy method. Guðmundur will probably prove me wrong, to access the header fields in JavaScript. So you actually need to access them in something like PHP to basically embed the code to then read those header fields. So, okay, let's just move over to the the in-game browser. And I now need to trust this page also, because in their infinite wisdom, they're actually, adorably, the ops managed to update the server since 2 a.m. when I last checked. So there was actually a new build since then. That's why you guys had to wait outside, because we were panicking in here. Okay, let's see. Let's just quickly trust this one. Trust side. There is actually one function that we went through. It was request trust. So yeah. How does that work?
That's a JavaScript function that the website.
It's open. Yeah.
To
exactly.
request the browser, in-game browser, to trust, and you'll get a dialog saying this website would like to be trusted.
Yeah, there are two classes of functions. There are functions that require trust, and there are functions that do not require trust. So, okay, basically, if you see like Eve trusted no, then you can launch the functions. Then you can embed the code to request trust, and then you would get that dialog up. So, just the simplest one is to open the email. So, as you saw here, we have a normal web page here. It's just extremely simple and dirty HTML code. And the call to open email is basically just one function call. So there is nothing more that you need to do. So there is no black magic or anything going on. And these JavaScript headers and function libraries, they are embedded in the page automatically by the browser. So I've prepared some of the links earlier, but here we can see, because you will get this page to play around with. And here you have basically all you need to get started with this stuff. Let's see, let's get like show info on the cockroach. If I'm showing something that is that you're not allowed to see, then you will just have to forget it at the door. Okay, type ID. Yes. Hey, bribery works the other way around, man. So let's see. Here we have the information for the cockroach. The goal is that you can have access to everything that is available through the menu. And that would be the optimal goal. Also through the browser, which would mean that you could write, like, you know, and especially when we have HTML5, you can have really nifty stuff running there. But that's still in the future. Okay, show route 2. There you have two functions. So basically, if you are advertising your lager house of exotic dancers, you could then highlight the link with an appropriate icon. And just by clicking that link, you would then show the way there. Could be convenient. Oops, where did it go? Show map. You know, everything around the map is quite nifty. Now we know where Gita is. Perfect. I read a lot about it, never been there. No. Show preview. Let's see if you can take a look at the cockroach again. Yep, here it is. Show fitting ID. There is actually no known way to actually get the fitting ID, so it's it was easy to write, but much harder to debug. But the guys will be helping out with that. Show contracts. So basically, if you are looking for stuff, then you can just launch the contract browser directly. So you can write stuff to greatly reduce the number of clicks needed, which is, I think, being a relatively new player, or actually a very new player, the clicking really still gets to me. So it's, but you should never talk down or badmouth the client. It's really great. Sorry about that. But I'm trying to emphasize the benefits here. The benefits are that you can write context-sensitive stuff, you know, propagating your proposals, business proposals. One of the key benefits would be to have direct access to stuff. So, okay, show market details. Let's see, what did I put in here? Okay, where do I get a Kronos? You know, I really need one. And then you can launch that stuff. Here is the request trust. Let's ask the API to trust this URL.
It's already trusted, I think.
Okay, then it just ignores it. Set destination. Then it just feeds the auto router. Okay, some of these links.
Refresh the browser.
I guess so.
There's the green icon showing that it's trusted in the lower right corner.
Ah, there it is. Obviously, in the lower right corner. Where else would you put it, right? You know.
Perfect place for it.
So, okay. Showing info for stuff. So, actually, in Nonny's demo tomorrow, I've seen it, so trust me. All of these functions will be, or most of them, will be put into really good use. So what I'm here to show you basically is it's really, really very, very simple to use this stuff. You don't really need to do anything except remember to install some sort of web server on your machine. I'm using Web2Py and basically just to serve on a static HTML file. It's just because of the URL. We are looking into whether it's acceptable to trust file URLs. Usually it's frowned upon to trust them because they have special access to the Gumi told me. It's not a good thing to do, but Nonni told me to do it, so I'm a bit torn at the moment. Show map. Let's just go through this quickly, and then we move into Q&A, and you can learn about the rest. Showing a preview. I already did that. Shofia. See, where was I? Request trust, set destination, add waypoint here. Now we have added the route directly. Joining a channel. Oops, if I could type, it would help. Attempting to join a channel, yep. And now I've created the in-game browser channel and joined it. So it's pretty nifty things. Joining mailing lists. Yeah, well, it doesn't exist. And creating contracts, buying types. Let's buy this stuff here, and then we basically move into the last dialogue before actually performing the action. So we don't really allow you to automate stuff, as you've probably seen now. You just go into the dialogue, you get rid of a lot of clicks, you propagate the context that you're in, and you can do all sorts of stuff, but you don't give an unfair advantage to the players who are using the site. So that's basically the goal here. Find in contracts if you're looking for something. Already did that. No contracts found for that. Not to quit market bar. Empty quick bar, and if I press it, hey, a freight container. Adding contacts, removing contacts, corp contacts, remove corp contacts, blocking, important. I don't have any links for that because I didn't have any character IDs for CC, and I don't want to go steal the API guys' thunders and showing you how to retrieve character IDs. It's really nifty. They'll go into detail on that. Unnar, yeah, sweating already. invite to fleet, start conversation. So there is a lot of new functions here. I think we are moving a bit closer to that palace. Obviously not there yet, because you are building the palace. We are only providing you with some tools. You can consider this a hammer. Hammer is always a good thing to have. That and a trowel. You need a trowel also. Show on map, corporation ID, edit members, award decoration, send mail. I can do that. No, I don't have a character ID. Well, I could find a character.
You can't send that guy a mail. He's an agent.
Ah, fuck. Good catch there. I was just checking if you are. And I probably can't award him a decoration either, right? Even though.
You can try, and Charlie will then make the defect.
Okay. Let's see if I can start a conversation with him. That would be nifty. Hey, that one start. Yeah, cool. So you can actually start conversation with agents. So you could.
It's a bit one-sided conversation.
Hey, come on. And show contents for containers. Let's see. But I also need the station ID. Okay. So you can then basically, that's required for the asset list pimped version that we are going to demonstrate tomorrow. So Charlie, are you walking around with a mic, or are you done playing with it?
Yeah, I guess we can take questions.
One question. Perfect.
That was mainly just a pet peeve of mine, but I'm a wormhole running a wormhole corporation, and thusly everybody's living out of the corporate hangars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not impossible to identify the item ID of that corporate hangar array, but it would be nice to have some way of just saying, okay, that's the number for it. Right now I've been digging through and basically identifying them by contents.
Yeah. What do you ID guys have to say about that? Are you hooked up, Önur? For Mr. Stillman there to walk around?
Yeah, there is actually no way for them to actually get the ID of the POS
Was that the answer you were looking for?
No, that's something that we should probably add to the API. I mean, you would like to be able to get a hold of those IDs easily, or
the item IDs are there in the asset list.
okay, they show up in the asset list.
I just can't place it in game
easily.
Okay.
You're not supposed to live in wormholes,
I have
you
to
know.
figure out, okay, I have to go there, figure out, okay, this one has 6,000 Havoc missiles, and
okay, yeah, okay, so you have to match the contents of it to the actual ID,
yeah.
and then you can give it out to other people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that's not optimal. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Is that simply because we don't get names through the API? We don't know the name of a container. If I have 12 general freight containers sitting in a station containing a couple of million items of salvage and whatever, I don't get the name of the actual container. I have to go through it one by one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you guys want to build a wormhole interface in the in-game browser?
No, just for identifying container item IDs and such.
Yeah.
I had figured out that you could take, for example, link an item container, and if you copy-paste the URL out of the text chat into a regular notepad, you get the item ID in there. But it's also a little circuit to this.
Yeah. Why can't they just grab the item IDs of items in space?
Through the API, you mean, or
no, just to the client?
Just for a show info or something.
Yeah, I know why they can't, but I'm asking, is there a reason for why they can't?
I think the API is really the proper interface to deliver this sort of information rather than the actual game client.
Yeah, but returning the entire asset list with the name of everything is a rather
and
big overhead.
corporate hangar arrays are just named corporate hangar arrays.
Yeah, exactly.
We
You
have 40
can't.
of them.
Oh.
I mean, getting
the
the,
same
getting the
system.
names, the player applied names to these things through the API sounds like something that we should be able to take on.
We should probably look at you know, making a more POS only specific API calls. I mean that would help you out in this sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It would be useful for all containers and named items,
Yeah,
even down to ships. Because
because you have lines of freight containers.
300 ships of a particular type in a hangar, and you're looking at the fittings through the API on them all. It would be useful to be able to tie that back to the name of the ship, so you're not actually just having to right-click on each ship and try and identify which one you were looking at in the API.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Make sure to you guys who have ideas to get them to us also by the link we mentioned.
And the round table. Show up at the round
and
table.
at the round table, because we are chronic Alzheimer's here.
Is there any chance that there may in the future be a function in the in-game browser to get a user's API so that you can they can just go to the web page and look at skill information or something like that instead of having to go onto the Eve site to get the API?
What do you mean by API?
The API key to get skill information from, so that we can kind of put together the in-game browser with the API calls.
Yeah, well, I mean, the in-game browser request headers cannot be trusted, so they can be very easily spoofed, and the API keys are privileged information. So I'm afraid the two are never meant to form a great bond. So that's not going to happen, but you should attend the 3 o'clock session from Andy on Dream Apps. So,
yeah, you are just basically moving into the classic problem of authenticating web browsers. So it's there is no patented solution to that.
yeah,
there are many approaches.
You guys should be careful, even though when you're making your websites for a corporation or something like that, you might be tempted to just use the corporation ID from the request header directly and just log you in and allow you to do some actions on your website. Yeah. Don't do it.
It's a trap.
Anybody can download a Firefox plugin that spoofs all these headers. It's not trusted information. So don't trust anybody. It's Eve. So.
More questions?
Hi. I'm following up your comment regarding replacing all the Neocom functions with in-game browser functions.
Well,
not replacing, but providing them. I'm following up with an idea I had, whether or not it's possible to replace the whole Neocom with a web page, including having the browser, let's say, transparently. So you have your skinned client if you want. Just a simple idea, just had with your command.
Well, you probably could do some of it, right? You know, I guess at least the email one. But yeah, I had the same idea when I was playing with it, but you know, it wouldn't really make sense because there is already a Neocom. So, but as an academic exercise, it's probably possible. Yes.
But at the same time, it's very easy for us to do. So maybe we'll just do it for completeness sake. So
yeah, exactly. Then we'll have lots of Neocoms instead of just one.
Morning. Do you guys know that underscores in the header, in the HTTP header, are basically illegal characters by the HTTP protocol?
It's on purpose.
Busted.
Well, normal scores, normal dashes would be fine, but I know at least one web server, the Nginx, who has problems with underscores. You actually have to enable an option called allow underscore in headers to be able to access the Eve headers.
There you go. We didn't.
It's just it's just the fact that they are illegal characters. It's just one of the things I came across.
Okay, we'll certainly take that in and see if it's something that we can fix. Just was completely unaware of that myself.
More questions?
there used to be a method where you could show like your location in the game and send via the IGB, but it was removed in the new version. Is there any idea to bring that back? Can you see like which moon am I at for like past scouting and stuff like that, or like help I am tackled in the belt button?
Yeah, it was on the request list that we went through, and we decided against it for this iteration. It might come in later. There are some technical implications with it, so we decided not to do it now. If there is a lot of interest for it,
I know a couple of alliances who would like this when they were scouting all moons in Venal.
it's still on our backlog, and it's certainly something that we can take a look at.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Will the general version of Chromium behind the in-game browser will be updated? Because I think it's still Chromium 3 or something like this. Because with the newer Chrome version, there will be some new features like WebSockets and other Canvas stuff and stuff, like other web technologies with the new Chromium version.
Chromium 3 is good enough for anybody. Marcus.
No, well, we will be updating to the latest version of Chromium, but it's not certain what feature set we will expose. So we can't really, and it's in the soon TM time range.
Yeah, it is a significant amount of work, so it's not just a developer for a week upgrading. It's going to be a lot of effort. Hopefully, we will be able to get it done this year, but we can't make any promises.
Will you be adding a JavaScript function to pop up the send money box? With the reason filled out box. And the amount?
So you are a part of the Jerry Maguire crowd then. Well, we can, technically. It's pretty easy. And there has been a lot of discussion about it. We have decided against it for this iteration because it might be exploited, where people tell you that you're sending money to somebody that you are in fact sending money to somebody else. And it is a pretty hot topic. Actually, we understand the rationale for actually doing it, but we're still pretty scared. So it might come at some point. It might require some in-game features. It might require some pop-up that says, are you sure you want to send to this guy? This guy might be spoofing somebody else, etc., etc. So I would say that it will probably come at some point, but not in this iteration.
Just a quick question, really. Most of the examples all the examples you've given have been going from the in-game browser to popping things up in the client. Have you considered doing anything from the client where you can feed the information to the in-game browser? I'm thinking of a particular example of, say, if you're in the market, you're looking at a Raven, for example, and you've got the blue show info button at the top. Do you think it'd be possible to have a similar button next to it where you could say, give a URL and you'd have, say, a global variable which you could plug in like item ID? So when you was looking at, say, the Raven, you could click that button, it would take you to the URL that you specified with the item ID for the item that it's looking for. I'm thinking type Eve Central type thing. So you could click that, it would take you to Eve Central for that item, but obviously the URL that you wanted there would just be configurable by the user. It would also be really useful for things like asset tracking and stuff like that to link into external scripts. Have you considered anything like that and given the user the option?
Well, there is stuff like that on the horizon, and we are looking into methods to do stuff like that, but we are still looking for a general way, and updating the Chromium is part of that effort.
Yeah, but at the same time, then we are not currently looking into any like in-game hook specifically. The browser is a contained window, and we do not have in our plans anywhere to bring any outside hooks from within the client into that. I'm sorry.
More questions?
Nope. Perfect.
One more question?
Nope. One more.
Fint að þú hans meiri tíma bara.
Hvað er klukkan?
Agony got a nice little fleet tool where basically you take your drag your fitting into a text chat and get a link, and you right click and open as tab, and the address is your fitting ID, and then you paste that into their in-game browser page, and they get all the info about your ship. Would it be possible to maybe make a drag or something for a text box to get that some way into the in-game browser?
So that you could actually drag information from within the game into the in-game browser.
Instead of dragging to the text chat box, dragging to the in-game browser directly.
Yeah.
And get that link.
It was something that was discussed originally when we were making the new Moondogi framework, and it's not out of the question that it will be done at some point, but it's not in our immediate plans. No.
Okay.
Questions?
It's a CCP girl. Don't let her ask any questions.
She knows too much.
I just wanted to say that I discovered that actually the schedule is printed wrong. So the DreamApp session is supposedly clashing with the Eve keynote. That's actually misprint, and the DreamApp session is at 4 instead. So you don't have to choose. So I just wanted to update you on that, and I guess there's some announcement of it. But 4 is the DreamApp session.